Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is BGFH and I am back for another hardware review. What we are looking at here, if I come a little closer here, we are looking at the new 4th generation Apple TV. So remember I had talked about picking one of these up for a while. Really hadn't it's funny because when it first came out, right when it was going to come out, I'm like, yeah, I should get one of these. And I was more unsure about the iPad Pro. Turns out I saw the iPad Pro and I'm like, yeah, there might be something to this. I think I could like that. And there was just a couple of questions and shortcomings potentially that that I think the Apple TV had out of the box. And I think it's fixed some of them, and there are still some issues with it, but here is my look at the 4th gen Apple TV. So, just like before, it is a super tiny box. Actually, here is the old Apple TV, the 3rd generation model, that I did a review for last year, the year before, I can't remember now, a little while ago. It's very small, not very big at all. Probably, I would say you could probably get like a CD, the size of a CD, as far as the square size here. You could probably put about one of those on there. Not very thick. Then you have the 4th gen right here. Same pretty much dimensions. Actually, let me put the other one back on top of it here. Yeah. Pretty much identical as far as length and width, but the height is a little bit thicker. So I would say it's probably about it's a little bit taller, but really not that big a deal. So on the back, I'm not really going to be able to get back there, but basically there's an HDMI, there's a generic power cord, and there is an Ethernet jack. Now I'm running mine wireless for now, but basically it was nice because I took my old Apple TV, I just pulled the cords out from the back. It uses the same exact cord, so I just unplugged it out of my old one, plugged it into my new one, used the same cords. I still have the 4th gen cords still in its box because I'm just using the other ones. Now the other main difference is, of course, you have your new Siri remote. And there are things I like about it. There are things I don't like about it. So on the top here,
settings, row 2, App Store, row 1,
you have a touchpad. And it kind of works like an iOS screen or a Magic Mouse or a touchpad or something like that. You have a few different buttons here. You've got your menu in the below the touch panel here. You've got a menu button. You've got your Siri microphone button, which you actually hold in to talk instead of just hitting it. So it's kind of a touch and hold like a walkie-talkie sort of thing. You got your play pause down in the lower left there. You got your, I don't know what this TV button is. I really haven't used it. And you have your plus and minus button for like your volume and stuff like that. Now, when you turn the Apple TV on, when you plug it in, basically you don't even turn it on. You plug it in for the first time. The way that I made sure that I was on the right input, I have a whole bunch of things hooked up to my TV, and my Apple TV is actually part of a little HDMI switch behind my TV there, and I basically I plugged my old I left my old Apple TV on, and then made sure it was on the screen, unplugged it, plugged in my new one, and then boom, I knew I was on the same input. So worked great there. As far as the remote goes, if you do need voiceover, you wait and you triple click the menu button, and that will turn
voiceover off.
Voiceover off.
Voiceover on. App Store. Row 1. Column 3.
And it's pretty responsive, not bad at all. So it will guide you through the entire setup of the Apple TV. And like the third generation, one of the things that I like about the new Apple TV, or the Apple TV in general, is to expedite the setup process a little bit. You can actually, it will ask you, hey, if you have another iOS device, go ahead and put it up here right next to your Apple TV, and it'll just suck down basically your Apple ID and your network settings. So interestingly, here's where I found for my first bug. Or I don't know if it was a bug or my phone or something was just being stupid. I tried to pull in my Apple ID and my network stuff through my phone and tried it 3-4 times, could not get it to work. I mean, I'd literally put it on top of the device, I would put it to the side of the device, front of the device, I could not get it to work. So finally I'm like, I don't know, let me grab my iPad Pro. Grab that, whoop, within 5 seconds or so, it said, oh, hey, I got it. And it just took another, 10 seconds or so and sucked it down. And all my Apple ID was imported. My network was imported. I didn't have to enter my network key because it just knew what my home network was. And we were off and running. Now, the home screen should look fairly familiar if you are familiar with the older Apple TV, with the unfortunate exception, yeah, they did it again. Apple has chosen, remember that wonderfully nice dark background that we had in the third generation Apple TV? No, everything has to be white now. So it's not so bad here, but when you get into certain other areas of the interface where there's a lot of white space, I find that to be kind of annoying, especially if you're in, I don't have overhead lighting on a lot of times in my apartment, and it's often fairly dark in here. So to have that just glaring contrast, not a huge fan. And you cannot change any of like the theme to a dark theme or anything like that. Now there are apps, I believe YouTube might be one of them, that still will carry over a dark theme for theirs. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit here. So your home screen, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the touchpad on my remote, and I'll just do a one finger or one thumb essentially flick gesture.
Settings. Row 2. Column 3. App Store. Row 1. Column 3. TV shows. Row 1. Column 2. Movies. Row 1. Column 1.
One face, small face, face near not edge.
Oh, okay. VoiceOver's actually seeing faces. That's funny.
Search. Row 2. Column 1.
Knock it off, VoiceOver.
Movies. Row 1. Column 1.
Actually, let me go down to settings really quickly.
Search. Row 2. Computers. Settings. Netflix. Row. Settings. Row 2. Column 3.
Okay, we're going to go to settings.
Settings. Apps. Button. Remotes and devices. AirPlay. Audio and video. Accounts. General. Button.
I'm going to go ahead and slow down the voice for some of you guys, especially
Screensaver. Aerial. Screen capture. Accessibility. Restrictions. Accessibility.
accessibility.
Accessibility. Style. Closed captions and SD. Style. Audio descriptions.
Don't worry, we'll come back to all this
Voiceover.
stuff.
On. Button. 1. Voiceover. Voiceover practice. Speech. Speech rate. Fast. 1 of 2. Speech rate. Normal. Button. Voiceover. Use
Okay,
pitch.
so I'm going to go back out to the main
Accessibility.
home
Settings.
screen here.
General.
This is a bit too slow for me, but I figure, especially I don't know how well my phone camera is going to pick up the audio, so I will kind of make it easier for you guys to hear. So, yes, I know, you're looking at the Martian and seeing the faces, okay. So basically, flicking up.
App Store. Row 1. Column CBS Sports. Button. 1 of Mr. John. Asphalt 8. Airborne.
So I was playing that a little bit earlier, and
199 of 600.
oh good lord.
Find your favorite video apps. Button. Infinite Skater. Button. 597. New to the App Store. App Store. TV shows. Movies. Row. Search. Movies. Top movies. The Martian. Button.
That, by the way, if you have not seen The Martian, I highly recommend it. It is actually a really good movie, And if you like to read, I would actually highly recommend the book even more. That's all I will really say. Well, let's go into The Martian here.
Movies. The Martian.
So this is, of course, through iTunes, which I don't buy movies this way.
Preview button.
But I can preview it.
From legendary director Ridley Scott, Alien, Prometheus, comes a gripping tale of human strength and the will to survive. During a mission to Mars, American astronaut Mark Watney, Matt Damon, is presumed dead and left behind. But Watney is still alive. Against all odds, he must find a way to contact Earth in the hope that scientists can devise a rescue plan to bring him home. Preview button.
So let's just see. Hopefully I won't get tagged for this.
Playing.
Every human being has a basic instinct.
And that was really fast. That took, what, a second or two tops to get in? Now I'm going to back out right away because last time when I did my other Apple video, it got a little cranky at the video clip. YouTube did. Didn't take it down, but I've got a warning about it. So, again, I don't want to have to worry about that. But overall, the responsiveness has been very good. You know what? Go away. I turned voiceover off on my phone because it kept seeing faces and telling me. So I apologize for that. But yeah, so you have your movies and TV shows like you did before. I'm not going to go through everything in here, but just to give you an idea.
Grace. For top movies. Tech Grace.
I do not like that movie.
Top movies. Burn. New and noteworthy. The SOMM collection. Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh, okay, so let me go back out again.
Tag. 2 of 5. Top movies.
Okay, so let's...
Button. 1 of 25.
Let's go...
Movies. TV shows.
TV shows.
Top TV shows. Downton Abbey. The final season. Sherlock. The War and Peace.
And again, I just love the fact that I can go sit back on my couch and, you know, they don't have good text labels on some of this stuff. You have to look at and read some of the funny, like, cursive or strange fonts that are on these movie boxes. But I can just, you know, sit back on my couch as a low vision user and just not have to worry about it. And I can navigate, I can search for things, I can browse movies or TV shows or categories or other services, because the main reason that I got the fourth generation Apple TV is because of its App Store. So if I go...
TV shows. App Store. Row 1.
App Store. So if I go back up, I'll get all these highlighted things that you saw here, like the Asphalt 8 and new to the App Store, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not entirely clear, and I don't know if it's like App Store wide or if it's a developer's choice or how that works. But one of the early questions that I had is because tvOS, which is what the Apple TV is running, is basically a skinned version of iOS. So it's very similar in functionality and kind of behavior and the apps that you're going to get. So one of my earlier questions before I got the Apple TV was, okay, well, I have bought a lot of apps for iOS, for my iPad, various iPads and iPhones. Should there be a version of that for the Apple TV, do I have to re-buy it again for the larger screen, or is it going to fall under the whole universal app style? And for the most part, what I've seen is that apps that I have owned, a couple apps and a couple games and things, I have seen if they have come to the Apple TV, I just have a download button, with, you know, instead of a get or a buy button. So most of them seem to carry over. So I think the main exception to that would be where even iPhone to iPad, if they're not a universal app, if they are, you know, like, oh, you have a HD version for the iPad and then a regular version for the phone, you may have some of that separation for the Apple TV as well. But
settings, row 2, column 3.
So here is my
computers, search, row 2, column 1, movies, row 1, TV shows, App Store, photos.
Yeah, so App Store, photos.
Mr. John,
and we
Store,
have
row 1, settings, Row 2. Computers. Search. YouTube. Row 3.
Now,
Call
all of the
one.
apps on here, I have put on here. You remember the old Apple TV, because they didn't have an app store, so if they added movie services, they just had to kind of plaster them all over the home screen just so that you knew that they were there and you could access them. But because a lot of these video services, apps, and games now are apps, when I got it, I think you basically had the first row and a half or so of apps and then nothing else. So it was basically up to you to go to the App Store and go search or browse for apps and video services that you want, which I kind of like, because the old Apple TV, the vast majority of those services I never use, and it was just cluttering up the home screen. And granted, you can move them around. Like if I want to
Search. YouTube.
let's say I want to switch YouTube and Giant Bomb here. I can hold down. Now on the remote here, you know, I'm flicking, but in order to actually activate something, you don't just tap it like you do with the touchscreen of a phone or a tablet. The button actually does click, so you actually do press the button. But I'm going to press and hold.
Moving YouTube.
So now I
Press
can
play to
swipe.
delete. After Giant Bomb. Before Giant Bomb.
So I'll move it
Row
back to
3.
where it was.
Column 1. Finish
Click
moving
again.
YouTube.
Boom, finish moving YouTube. So it's super easy, even with VoiceOver, to move things around.
Manager. Recently updated.
So I've got YouTube, Giant Bomb
Row 3.
videos,
Plex.
Plex. I have to set that up on my computer again. It's outdated. I got to update it. But this is an app which, this was one of the tipping points that made me finally get the Apple TV, because Plex, you set up your Plex library on your computer over there, and then you can stream all of your video content to your phone, your tablet, your Apple TV, or whatever set-top box you have. And you don't even have to be in your own home to do it. Granted, when you're outside your home, the video streaming is kind of, in my experience, has been kind of bad. But especially in your home, it works really well. VLC Media Player is also available, which is very cool. Any media player fan will probably recognize VLC. It plays damn near everything.
Tech TV.
I got a Tech TV thing. I saw that in the App Store, so I thought, yeah, why not?
Into the Dead.
Into the Dead, that's a game that you're going to see I will be covering on the channel at some point here, the iPad version, but it's also been brought to Apple TV.
Crossy Road.
Crossy Road, you've seen that video. If you haven't checked it out.
Pac-Man 256.
Pac-Man 256, here we go. So that's available. Pandora. Engadget.
Recently updated.
What was this one? Some kind of a shooter, I think. Rayman Adventure, Asphalt 8, Bean Dreams, you've seen that video on my channel, and Jetpack Joyride. So I've got a couple staples in there. You know, my staples, my Jetpack Joyride, my Pac-Man. Those, if they're available, I'll have them on pretty much everything. Like if Threes comes out, yeah, it's going to be up here just because. But yeah, so that's all I have on my unit. So let's go up to the App Store so that you can see.
App Store. Row 1. App Store. Featured. Tab.
So I have featured.
Top charts.
Top charts. This should look very familiar to anyone who has used an iOS App Store.
Categories.
Categories. And then on the right-hand side, I can...
Games. Education. Entertainment. Health and fitness.
And I can hit enter on, or tap the touchpad here to go into one of these.
Kids. Button. Lifestyle. News. Sports.
So let's say I want sports.
8 of 8.
Click.
Poster. 1 of 5. What to watch. CBS. What to watch. NBA 2000. NFL. 4 of
So if I
6.
wanted NFL, I could go grab that.
NFL.
And the interface is pretty zippy. So I could install it if I wanted to. I'm not going to for now. Nah, I'm not going to install anything right now. Let's go back.
NFL, sports.
So let's go all the way back up to the categories.
Purchased. Tab.
Purchased. This shows me, of course, all of my apps that are available through the Apple TV that would qualify. So again, if I owned something on the iPad or the iPhone and it came to Apple TV, it would show up here, which is nice.
Search. Tab.
Search. Now, here's the thing. Here is the one thing that kind of drives me crazy and I do not like about the new Apple TV. So I'm gonna flick down.
Keyboard. Tap A.
So
Alpha.
here is what the keyboard looks like. So remember the old Apple TV, you had that kind of a grid, which was actually kind of nice. I actually didn't mind that. Here you have just one long string, A through Z, that you have to, so if you're like all the way on A, and then the next letter of the word that you want to type is like T, you got to flick all the way over to get to T. Not very enjoyable. So I can flick.
Tap, 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 tap G. Tap H. Tap up, tap J.
So you have to do that like all the time. And if you have words where you're going from like the end of the alphabet to the beginning and back and forth, it's tedious. But then if I flick down again.
Selected. Uppercase letters.
So I have uppercase letters. I can flick to the right.
Lowercase letters.
Lowercase letters.
Numbers.
Punctuation. And punctuation. So when I change to one of these, I can click on it and then the row up there will change. So then I have to arrow back up and then flick left and right to find out whatever it is. It is super inefficient, and I would highly recommend that if you are going to be doing something, especially where you're in the beginning, where you're going to be downloading a bunch of apps and searching for things, getting everything set up, use the Apple Remote app on your phone, because it's a way faster, way easier way to to do keyboard entry with the new Apple TV. I'm not a huge fan, really at all, as far as the way the keyboard works. So let's back out.
App Store.
Get out of the App Store here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because, like I said, it's very accessible. It's straightforward. If you've used iOS before, there's really not a whole lot else to really explain as far as like the interface goes.
Settings. Row 2.
If I am, remember this is a Siri remote, so I do have this Siri button here, and I can try to, like, I can do searches. Show me 1980s comedies. I have had some really mixed luck with Siri.
Hold to speak.
Yeah, I know, but
Settings.
I've had really sketchy luck with Siri so far. Let me try it again. Show me 1980s comedies.
Here are some comedy picks from the 80s. Back
Okay.
to the Future. 1 of 50.
Excellent movie.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
2 of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Excellent.
3 of Ghostbusters.
Heck yeah.
4 of The Breakfast Club.
Good movie.
5 of A Christmas Story. Ghostbusters II. National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh man, there's a lot of good movies in there. Man. So you can ask it stuff like, if I want to find,
Row 2.
I can look for apps, I can look for movies, I can kind of try to narrow it down and say, show me movies with this actor, that are action movies, or show me just all kinds of weird stuff like that, which is kind of neat. You can also, I haven't actually tried this yet because I really don't have any iTunes movies, and it doesn't work in all third-party apps, but you can also, like if you're watching something and you don't hear what somebody said, you can quick hit the Siri button and say, what did he say? And it will kind of go back 5 seconds or so, and you can kind of rehear that clip of the movie and it'll just continue on. So there is some kind of cool stuff like that. The one thing that I would say about the Siri thing is I would like to see it integrated more into third-party apps, because I think that would be very useful. Speaking of third-party apps, we are still missing the main ones that I'm kind of sad. I have YouTube, I have Giant Bomb, I have Hulu, I have Netflix, and they all work great. No Amazon Video app yet. You know, they have Amazon Video both for the iPad and iPhone, so I would hope that that does come to the Apple TV soon. I really, really, really hope it does. I can still watch Amazon content if I use my phone or tablet and AirPlay it up to the Apple TV, so there is currently a way around it, but I would like to see it done natively. And oh, before I move on, there's one other thing I want to mention about the keyboard, and this is really freaking weird. I've tried it a few times and I've had the same results. So, you know, remember I said I recommended using the app on your phone or tablet to, you know, the Apple TV remote app. The thing with it is, it works really well for entering most things, but what I had a problem with is anytime I would try to enter a password for either my Apple ID or when signing into Netflix for the first time, YouTube for the first time, whatever, for some reason, if I knew I did it accurately, but if I used my remote app, it would always claim that I had my password wrong every single time. However, if I did the tedious thing with the actual remote and I just went left, right, da 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 da, and did it with the remote, it would work first time, every time. So I don't know why. I don't know if that's a really strange bug or what the heck is going on, because I've tried it, like I said, a couple of times and had the same results. So if you are trying to enter a password with the Apple TV remote app, and if you're having problems, I would recommend using the actual Siri remote for that, because you may have similar issues such as I did. So let's go into settings real quick.
App Store. Settings.
Just so you can see, I know we jumped in there earlier. So general, I'll go in there shortly.
Accounts.
Accounts.
Audio and video.
So I can audio video settings.
AirPlay. Button.
AirPlay, this is where I can set up that.
Remotes and devices.
Remotes and devices. So if you get another device, this is also where you would go when you're configuring your Apple Remote app. This is also where you're going to go to set up a controller. Like I also did get a third-party controller, which I will do a quick mini review on in one of my next videos. But sneak peek, here is the Nimbus controller that I have been using with the Apple TV. But that's next time. So let me grab my remote again. Apps, so I can manage my apps here.
Network. Button.
Network settings, pretty obvious.
System. Button.
System. Okay, one other thing I want to mention. The first thing that you should do when you get your Apple TV, go here, once you have your network established, go under System and check for system updates, because when I found that it was not running the newest firmware. And unfortunately, the old firmware, like I said, one of their stupid things that they did when they released the Apple TV 4 was they weren't compatible with the iOS remote app. So I was trying to connect my phone, make it show up under remotes and devices, and it wouldn't work. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I bet this thing isn't fully updated. So I went there, updated the firmware, which took about 5-10 minutes to download and update itself total. Not too terrible. And then I went under my devices and thing, and boom, it worked right away. So just be sure that when you get the device for your first time, go there, make sure there aren't any updates. And if there are, go download any software updates under the system area of settings.
Sleep now. 9 of 9.
Sleep now. No, we don't want that. So let's go back up to general, because I do want to show you briefly a little bit of accessibility.
General.
About. There's, of course, your version number and all that stuff, serial number.
Screensaver. Button. Sleep after.
I can set my sleep timer.
Accessibility. Button.
I'll go in there in just a second.
Restrictions.
Restrictions, those are like parental restrictions and stuff like that, I think. Privacy, haven't done much under there.
Siri.
There you can change your Siri settings.
About Siri and privacy. Usage. Manage storage.
So there we can manage
One
our
of one.
storage,
Date and time.
set our
Set
date and time.
automatically. Time zone. Chicago. Language and region. Region format. United States.
So yeah, all the same
Language.
is pretty good.
Siri. Privacy. Restrictions. Accessibility.
Let's go under accessibility.
Accessibility. Media. Closed captions and SDH. Off.
So there's your
One of
closed
three.
captioning. You can enable that system-wide.
Unavailable. Style. Button. 2 of 3.
Style. Now this really didn't seem to have.
Preview.
It didn't really have a whole bunch.
Audio descriptions. Style.
Let's go in there. I forget what's even in
Selected.
here.
Style. Default. Large text. 2 of 3.
Okay, so I can do large text, which I did, I think.
Classic. 3 of 3.
Classic
Edit styles. Button.
and edit styles. So
One.
maybe if there get to be more downloadable styles. I was hoping classic would have given me the dark background, but
Classic. Large text.
no such luck.
2 accessibility.
And if you're in a menu system like this, or in your anywhere in the interface, if you want to go back a level, you just hit the menu button up here, the top left one right below the touchpad. So that's a way to go back.
Audio descriptions. Off.
So
3 of
audio
3.
descriptions, they've patched that in now. So like if you're doing those,
Automatically play audio descriptions.
yeah, what she said.
Vision. Voiceover. On.
So
Button.
voiceover, I have
1 2.
settings here.
Voiceover. Voiceover. Voiceover practice.
There's a voiceover
Button.
practice.
2 of 2.
And there are times I haven't really played with a lot of instances where I've needed it, but you can use, if you're familiar with iOS, you can use the rotor gesture to do different things. So like if you need to change or read by character or do something like that, there is that functionality with this touch remote, so that's kind of cool.
Speech. Speech rate. Normal.
Normal speech rate. I found even, like especially in a big room, I found that the fastest speech rate is actually a little bit too fast, especially if there's any other people talking and stuff like that. So I go fast usually.
Use pitch. On.
So use pitch, that's for like capital letters
To
and
help
stuff.
distinguish context. Voiceover can change the pitch when speaking.
Yeah, exactly. And you cannot use different voices. Like you don't have the different Siri voices. All of them use the Samantha voice, which it would have been maybe nice to have a little bit better voices. But you know what? I'm just glad it talks, and like I'm okay with Samantha. It's like, hey, whatever. Because you know you get the Alex voice. That guy is huge, man. He's like 800 meg. I should also mention the Apple TV, the 4th generation. I don't know how I forgot to mention this when I was talking about it right away. There is a 32 gig and a 64 gig version. I, of course, purchased the 64 version because, yes, most of the content that you're going to be doing is streaming, but if you download some games and apps and things, I figure you're not going to be able to expand the storage, so I best get the 64, because otherwise, myself, I'm likely to run into issues with that if I were to get the smaller one. So there's some accessibility. Let's go down again.
Zoom. Off.
I can zoom in a little bit.
Bullet press the touch surface 3 times to zoom in and out. Bullet tap and slide with 2 fingers to adjust zoom level. Bullet drag to move around the screen. Bullet tap with 2 fingers to enable the zoom drag mode. Bullet when zoomed.
Huh.
Tap
Okay.
near the edges to move selection.
So yeah, there's a nice little instruction of some common gestures for the zoom thing. For myself, I pretty much will just use voiceover because then I have to zoom in and out every time I go into like a video and stuff like that. So
Interface. Bold text. On.
yep, bold
1 of
text
3.
is on.
Increase contrast. Button. 2 of 3.
So I did that. Didn't seem to really make much of a difference, to be honest with you.
Reduce motion. Off.
That one I didn't do. That one, just like on iOS, it kind of reduces some of the transition animations. Doesn't bother me, so I left it on.
Accessibility shortcut. Voiceover.
So you triple click your menu button.
To access
If you
accessibility options, press menu 3 times.
hush, yeah. So when it says press menu 3 times. So if you were a Zoom user and wanted that to toggle on and off instead, and you weren't using VoiceOver, yeah, you could set your shortcut to be that instead. Okay, and there's your accessibility. So there is kind of your general interface. I mean, it's really pretty standard. I'll go into 1 or 2 apps here just to wrap things up.
Settings.
Like I'll show you maybe a little bit of Netflix, and maybe I'll go into YouTube or something.
Flex. 3. Giant bomb. YouTube. Row 3. Column 1. Search. Settings. Netflix.
So let's go into
Row
Netflix.
2. Netflix. Jesse.
Okay.
Who is
Oh, one thing I should mention also,
Menu.
when you're
Search.
setting up,
1 TV shows. Family Guy. 1 of 75.
when you are setting,
Family Guy.
shut up. When you are setting up your accounts for the first time, I think YouTube did this and Giant Bomb did this. What they might do is you'll get a message on your screen for a particular app when you go into it. And it's like, oh, to set it up, go to your computer or your phone or tablet or whatever, go to this website. Like I think it was like giantbomb.com slash Apple-TV or something like that. And then you had to go to that website and enter in, be logged in, and then enter in a little alphanumeric code. And that was how you said, oh, hey, this is how you activate this device with your account. So you do have to do that to activate some of the apps. And like Netflix, I was just able to sign in, like create my username and password, I think. I think that was just the way it was.
Making a Murderer. 2 of 7.
So this one is very popular. I haven't watched it yet, but everyone's talking about this.
5.0 of 5 star. Breaking Bad. 3
Excellent.
of 75. The Flash. 4 of Arrow. 5 Ultimate Spider-Man. 6 of 75. Dragons.
Wonder if that's
Race
any
to the
good.
Edge.
Ultimate Spider-Man? Wonder if that's any
6 of
good.
75. Trending now. Supernatural. Marvel's Daredevil. 2 of 75.
Another very good one. I highly recommend watching that.
Star Wars. The Clone Wars. 1 of 7. Comedies. Home. 1 of 70. Jeff Dunham. Gabriel Iglesias. Hot and Fluffy.
Oh, that's funny.
3 of 70. Penguins of Madagascar. Watch it again. House. And Orange is the New Black.
Another
3 of
good
4.
one.
The Walking Dead. Futurama. 1 of 49.
Futurama.
Futurama. 5.
I like how it says that. So basically, I can go into, well, let's just go into one of them, and I'll just show you.
Futurama. Play season 9. Episode 12.
So boom, the whole interface is nice and accessible. I really like it.
Futurama. 5.0 of 5 stars. 2013.
Again, I love this. The black background is so much nicer. It's shut up.
Watch it again. Menu.
I wonder if
Search. 1 of 4.
I was hoping the two-finger tap would be the shut up would work. Okay, it does actually. Sweet. So the kind of voiceover shut up command for iOS actually works. So yeah, I mean, that's a Netflix thing. Let's go back and I'll wrap up with YouTube really quick.
VLC, Plex, Giant Bomb, YouTube, Row 3.
Because I figure I'll go into another quick video.
Home, tab, 2 of 5.
And so we've got a bunch of stuff here.
Home, Smosh Games, recently uploaded. Watch Fine recommended. Recently uploaded.
Recently uploaded.
Watch Fine Bros React. Watch Reacting to React.
So let's see. Let's go up.
Subscriptions. My YouTube. Tab.
So my YouTube.
4 of 5. My YouTube. Watch History. Watch Gene Simmons Grins. Watch Bombshell Review. Watch Hands On.
Let's see.
Watch Omnibuses like Watch Later. Created playlists. And purchases. Uploads. Watch Let's Play. The Static Speaks My Name video duration.
Okay, so I just uploaded, as I'm recording this, I just uploaded this today.
1 of 3. Let's Play. The Static Speaks My Name. Illegally cited bullet.
So here's one of my videos.
January 30th, 2016.
I can play it.
Play. Button. 1 of playing.
Again, this is EGFH, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. I'm back for another quick... and there you go. We are playing...
This is a weird one.
Yes, it is a weird one.
The Static Speaks My Name. It is a free game on Steam right now, and it's kind of a first.
So let's go back. But yeah, I mean, so that's how you can watch YouTube. And I figure, hey, you know what? If it's one of my videos, I can't get copyrighted strike because I uploaded the video. So that's why I chose to do it that way. But that is really the Apple TV. You know, I talked about the keyboard. Like I said, overall, I really like it. I like the apps. I like the video services. Setting it up was really easy, with the weird exception that it wouldn't recognize my phone. I had to use my iPad in order to do the quick, you know, copy them over my network and other settings. But hey, got it to work. VoiceOver works beautifully with it. The App Store seems pretty decent so far. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of apps, and it'll be interesting to see what TV-specific types of things you can do with an App Store here. So that'll be interesting in the future. Main knocks against it are the on-screen keyboard. Really, I think leaves a lot to be desired. I don't really like it much. I don't like the white background. I wish I could change again to a dark background, but I have the same problem with iOS, and I highly doubt that's going to change anytime soon. I also don't, like I said, the weird password issue when using the remote app on your phone. I don't know why I'm having that issue. I don't know if other people are having that same issue. But just know that you probably want to use your actual Siri remote in order to enter passwords, because at least I've been having issues when trying to use the app. The only other thing that I'll say as far as negatives is that I think what's going to hold this back right now for doing larger screen things, be it apps or games or whatever, I think what's going to hold it back is the smaller storage size. I mean, 64 gigs is okay, but you can fill that up a lot if they do start supporting more games and stuff like that. So that could be a limiting thing. And also, going right along with that, the other issue is I don't remember what the current size limit is, but I want to say it was like 200 meg, maybe 500 meg. I don't even think it was near that. I think it was like 200. But apps cannot actually be very large. In order for them to be downloadable, Apple has set this restriction to be, I want to say 200 meg, which is actually quite small. So a lot of the games that you would want to play on a big screen, especially if you get a controller, I don't know that they're going to be available just because of that size restriction. So, combine that with the small storage limit of the Apple TV itself, at least in the fourth generation, maybe they'll have to have a fifth generation if they want to open that up more. But basically, in the long run, I wonder if that's going to be one of the biggest issue for some of the a lot more of the multimedia games and things like that. That could be more of an issue. But overall, so far, I've had it for just over a week, and I've used it a fair bit actually. I really like having the apps. I like having Plex and YouTube and other things that weren't on the old Apple TV. I really want Amazon services to come to the Apple TV, and then all my stuff will be happy. But I think it's a good start, since it supports apps and things, it's a good starting point. And I'm curious to see in the next year or so what Apple is able to do with the fourth generation. So that is a look at the fourth gen Apple TV. It is available. It's $150 for the 32 gigabyte model and $200 for the 64. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. And until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.